Hello. Today, I'd like to focus on one of the inner child strategies, self-reliance, what it looks like, where it came from, and how the adult carries self-reliance to maximum that has um, many disadvantages. So, from the beginning, when the young child experienced neglect, rejection, betrayal, abandonment, and those simple experiences of needing a parent there, needing for comfort, for nourishment, for being changed, to be connected. Whatever it was not met. That need was not met, and it was very painful. And all the child could do was possibly to cry and whimper, and still no one came. So the child got the impression that he or she was alone in the world. And being alone in the world, who do you rely on? The natural instinct is to rely on the only being that's there, as far as they could tell, and that was them. So they began to rely on themselves for everything. And although they became a toddler, a student in school all through the years, and an employee at work, they still lived in that inner child world where he or she felt alone and only could depend on him or herself. Therefore, what this looks on the outside is they were fully responsible. Because if you needed things in the world, if you relied on someone else, you would be disappointed hugely. There's already a built-in mistrust when the idea of self-reliance is created. Mistrust that someone is going to come through to you. And with that belief being carried, it conveys itself to others that they can depend on you to carry through with whatever you take on because you're very dependable, very responsible. And they may learn that you're not a good team participant. You don't like working on teams because it means you have to rely on other people being responsible. You have to trust them to fulfill their part of the work well. And if you become perfectionist also, the work is never good enough. So although you may work as a team, you may want to put yourself in position of reviewing everything the team does to ensure that it's done as well as could be expected, could be done within the period of the deadline. So you may look like a team player, but truly you don't work in terms of collaborating with others to brainstorm and create anew. You stay in your own little world of creation and don't, with your heart, participate with others. So, what's the consequence of this? You feel isolated. You don't build connections because you don't trust anyone. You don't trust that they have your interests at heart. So you go through the world taking care of things, taking care of responsibilities, and theoretically taking care of yourself. I say theoretically because when you become super self-reliant, you don't trust other sources of information and knowledge. So you stay kind of stuck in the small world created when very young, when you were very young, where because of the lack of warm reception of you and no one paying attention well enough and consistently to your needs, you live in that small world where you're the only person. That's what it feels like the inside. So that although you participate in the world, you keep your world small and your experiences small. You don't trust that the world is going to support you. Not only support you, but care for you. So you keep your experiences on the basis of how safe can I be? That will limit you. Because for those who move forward, it's moving through change. And change when you don't trust life or others is very scary. So you live out of fear. When you live out of fear, you rely on your thinking mind. You've had your thinking mind way back when. And your thinking mind is limited because logic analysis can take things apart, but they can't grasp the whole. They can't see the big picture in a way that will profit you. And the thinking mind is very suspicious. It isn't curious. It isn't asking questions, truly seeking an answer, not from the thinking mind, but from wherever it would come. So that if intuition had a suggestion, your gut had a sense, don't trust that person, don't trust that situation. Your thinking mind will look through the pros and cons and maybe and probably dismiss what your intuition is saying because it only trusts the intellect, the thinking mind, not intuition, and certainly not your heart, which has its needs and longings that bring you to certain opportunities. But if you used your thinking mind, it would say no. So you keep your experiences limited, have fewer choices, and can't move forward because fear is at the base of the thinking mind and this young being, self-reliant. Fear such that fear of change is prominent. So having new adventures, moving into areas where the outcome isn't known, is not likely where a self-reliant individual, as I'm describing, is going to wander. And therefore, having a way of moving beyond the thinking mind, moving the ego that is almost the same as your thinking mind. It's all about separation, not about collaboration, connection, community, or compassion, which brings me to the next point. When you're self-reliant, it's very hard to meet your need for community, meet your need for connection, which is really about love. Because you needed love early on and you were hugely disappointed. So you don't want to be hurt that way again. So you don't venture into experiences that will create change, which is very scary. So the drumbeat of fear is what the self-reliant adult feels. So lack of trust, a broken heart, relying only on the intellect, believing that the world is not there for their benefit, your benefit, but rather a place where you can stumble into so many swamps and walls and very painful experiences. So you build this wall around your heart. And that's what the self-reliant individual has, a wall around their heart to protect from more broken heart, more betrayals. So these are my thoughts about the self-reliant individual. And when you can see the limitation of self-reliance, I hope you can see the necessity of healing the wounds, healing the pain of those original experiences that gave rise to this coping strategies. And the best way I know how to do that is to engage your subconscious, which you've already heard me speak about, which we train to become your superconscious, who can work at the level of neutralizing and releasing the original pains that created the self-reliant person and all the disempowering beliefs and strategies from all those painful experiences. So the superconscious brings such freedom from that limited space created by self-reliance. So if you have questions, comments, or need to reach me, you know how. Thank you for listening to me during this time.